Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of Voice AI podcast where we discuss the future of voice AI. Today I'm super excited to host Jack Piunti, who is the GTM lead for communications at ElevenLabs. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you, David. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Let me give a short description of ElevenLabs. I'm pretty sure everyone knows, but still, I'll do this as I always do with ChatGPT's help. So ElevenLabs is a voice AI company offering ultra realistic text to speech to text, voice cloning, multilingual dubbing, and conversational AI tools. Founded in 2022, it enables creators and developers to build voice apps and generate lifelike, emotionally rich speech in 70 plus languages. Its latest models support expressive cues and multi speaker dialogue. The company, last ChatGPT checked, was valued over $3 billion. Very impressive. Jack, can you describe your role in the company?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that overview, David. I think ChatGPT did a pretty good job there. So I lead go-to-market for communications here at ElevenLabs, and what we consider communications is really CPaaS, CCaaS, and customer experience. So I joined Eleven after spending 6 years at Twilio. I know you're a former Twilion as well, and you've had folks like Brandon on the show. And so really joined to help take ElevenLabs to where folks are, consuming their audio minutes, right? Where folks are consuming voice, have us get embedded as deeply as possible so that it's as easy as possible for enterprises and their end customers to use ElevenLabs.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I mean, we have been planning this for a while now, especially with your focus on communications, which I think like mostly my podcast is about, right? Meetings, calls. Yeah, and ElevenLabs being the brand, it is like I think there is a lot of interest to hear where you're going, right? How the technology is evolving, what's in the plans, and also um, how you make your journey into enterprise as well, which I think you are, uh, although either entirely or partially responsible for, right, at the company. So yeah, let's start from like text to speech tech, Jack. That's the flagship technology you guys have. Uh, like I think like one question I kept thinking about lately is like there's so many models, open source models and non-open source models coming around, but ElevenLabs keeps, being number one. How would you explain that?
It's a great question, and I think first and foremost, the credit has to go to our research team, led by our co-founder and CTO Piotr. They're constantly innovating and constantly pushing the bounds for what text to speech can do. And I think you and some of the listeners have probably seen that with our recent V3 release, which is the most emotional, most realistic text to speech model that exists. I think some of the open source, has been and is quite good. It definitely, forces us to continue to innovate, and that's what we want to do. But there's a difference between, an open source and a demo that sounds really good and actually running something at production scale with the reliability and the SLAs and the know-how to run this in a real enterprise production environment. I think that enterprises want reliability, they want predictability, and they don't necessarily want to host and run a lot of this infrastructure themselves, right? So that's, I think, one of the main ways that we've been able to stay on top is A, of course, the research and continuing to innovate and push there, but also our enterprise deployments, the reliability, the scalability. I think you may have seen AI Darth Vader in Fortnite with Epic Games. I mean, in the first couple of weeks of that, generated over 100 years of audio content using text to speech, the largest deployment of text to speech by any single end user ever. And it's all in real time. So the reliability and the enterprise readiness aspect is something that we've really made a strong push on in the last call it 18 months, and somewhere that we're continuing to push.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, like, I mean, as at Crisp, we are doing some experiments with TTS, and it's the first time actually we are doing that. Um, and like some of the things that, and I think this also explains sort of my question, or answers to some extent my question, that, there's so many details. I mean, like you might think that TTS technology is ready, but there are a lot of details and nuances, and you learn about them, you sort of hit them as you start to, exactly what you said, like try to bring, to production, to scale. And, starting from like pronouncing like numbers or different, just like, texts properly, and handling multiple like different languages. I mean, there is just so much room for improvement in the dimension of language, right? Just like different languages. So yeah, I mean, as you said, like in the world of AI, everyone is showing demos, but there are only a few companies that can scale at a production level. So I think that's really that's where the best companies win, right? So like you mentioned version 3, Jack.
Mhm.
Can you tell us like what is different other than expressiveness? Is there anything other, like especially for real-time comms, right? That is new in version 3?
Yeah. So for real-time comms, we'll get there this year. V3 right now is not designed, or the current version that is released is not designed for real time at the time of recording this. The reason for that is it's a completely different architecture that takes into account every aspect of what's going on. Like it's I think the first text to speech model that I've seen that can truly laugh, that will automatically emote and stop and start like we do in our speech, as I'm doing now, the inflections up and down, starting a word, stopping a word, all the disfluences that make human speech human. V3 does that, and does that automatically based on the context that it's given. And our V2 models do a good amount of this. Like again, I would say for a real-time model, those are V2 2.5 is still the leader, but V3 is where I think, I mean, when I put my own voice clone into V3 and give it a prompt, I can send that to my family and they can't tell that it's not me. Like it's the point where audio truly passes the audio Turing test, for lack of a better phrase. And so we're going to continue to innovate there. We're going to push out real time, and then with V3, V2 supports 32 languages, V3 supports over 70. So we've really pushed the bounds there and can synthesize far more languages across the 6,000 plus voices in the voice library.
Got it. And anything exciting that is coming for real-time comms, like
Yeah,
soon, or you can share, right?
yeah. Again, and I'll preface this with, what we hope to have this out, all this out by the end of the year and hopefully sooner. Uh, Real-time version of V3, streaming V3 is going to be massive for giving voice agents the ability to sound completely realistic. We'll also be launching streaming speech to text, streaming scribe. So we launched our scribe model earlier this year, and independent benchmarks, you go to artificial analysis, show that it's the most accurate in the world, and we're going to do the same with our streaming version. And then I think the third point, and perhaps the most interesting for listeners, is our conversational AI product, our agentic AI product, and that's
Yeah,
where
I definitely, no, look, I definitely want to talk about speech to text and conversation. My question was only for TTS.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So basically, version 3, streaming version 3 is like the most important chip this
Exactly.
year. hopefully this year. Okay. Yeah, that's and is it gonna be priced similarly in the range, or you can't talk about that yet?
Still figuring that out. I think I'm gonna give ourselves a little more time there on how we're gonna price
Okay.
it. But I think you'll probably see pricing pretty similar to what you see for multilingual V2, and then we'll see where it lands.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, let's switch the gear to speech to text
Yeah,
because that came Q1, right, this year, I think.
correct.
And Scribe, out of nowhere, has become like number one, at least in some of the benchmarks. Yeah, can you like I think like it's a really good time to sort of give us the vision of the company, right? So why like I don't think I was expecting to see speech to text from ElevenLabs, and then you have conversational AI API as well. So where are you guys going and in the next 5 years, right?
Yeah, thank you for asking, David. So, 11 Labs, our goal is to break down communication barriers across the world and in every language. And the way we're going to do that is by being the default platform for AI audio. So when you think AI audio and when you think 11 Labs, people, as you mentioned, generally know us for our text to speech. And that is, what the company's first product and really kind of what we made our name on. But we don't only want to do text to speech, and that's not our plan. Our plan is to offer a complete platform for AI audio for creators, for developers, and for enterprises. And that includes text to speech, speech to text, the end to end conversational agentic AI product, but also things like sound effects, like real time dubbing, like music that we'll release at some point this year. So the goal is to you know, offer the most realistic, contextually aware, human like speech and also be able to transcribe that and provide full end to end agents as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that sort of now makes sense. Thanks for that. So coming back to speech to text, you launched it in Q1. Um, it's for offline use case for now. And I think you said you're gonna have streaming Scribe this year. How, like, if you think about the competition, I mean, there are so many providers of
All
speech to
right.
text, right? Like all over the place, I guess. Like how should we think from differentiation perspective? Um, I guess like quality, but then what? I mean, again, like speech to text is also multidimensional, like text to speech, or like language, speed, price, quality, and so on. How should we think about it?
So I think the first is quality, right? As folks are building more and more conversational AI agents or true agentic AI, the majority of hallucinations at this point are not actually coming from an LLM. It's coming from the speech to text and the transcription side. Because if you're asking someone for their confirmation code and you transcribe incorrectly one of those letters or one of those numbers, the LLM and the quote unquote brain of the agent doesn't know that's an error, right? It's going to take that as gospel, and then the entire experience is thrown off. The entire experience is wrong. It's going to try to look up a confirmation code that doesn't exist, and you're giving the end customer a bad experience. So accuracy in transcription is paramount when building agentic AI. So that's the first piece. I think the second piece is how many languages Scribe is really really good at. There are certain languages like Serbian, like Cantonese, that had not previously been cracked by speech to text that Scribe has done a really really good job on. And the third piece I would say is the ability to accurately transcribe but not ruin the transcript with things like background noise or laughter or I have a teammate here at 11 Labs who has a stutter, and Scribe accurately transcribes his stuttering and then will actually note it as stuttering, right? And so when you can give that kind of context to an AI agent, well, then the agent understands not to interrupt someone as they're, basically trying to get that word out. So I think the accessibility piece is also really important for us. And I could talk a lot more about what we think is going to and what has been setting Scribe apart in the market, but those are, I think, three of the major ones. And then, of course, you've got basically the constant quality versus cost equation.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that speech to text is the weak link today for AI agents. I mean, like TTS has improved significantly. I don't think that personally, at least for the use cases I'm focused on, expressiveness is not like number one problem today. Um, and then turn taking, latency is okay. I mean, people will adjust, but when the speech to text fails, it's so hard to recover from it, right? Because like if you gave some numbers like or address or credit card number and speech to text failed, how do you recover from that, right? Like the
Exactly.
whole work fails. Um, yeah, I mean, but it's also like pretty difficult problem. You have pretty difficult competitors, DeepGram, Assembly, and others out there. So yeah, but it's exciting to see a lot of players trying to solve this problem for the world, right?
Yeah, and I think it
Huge
it,
market,
it comes
actually.
back to our research team, right? So, we approached the problem in a fundamentally different way than I think most of the speech to text providers have, right? We started kind of with the reverse. We started with text to speech and basically worked to reverse engineer text to speech into speech to text. And I always like to say I'm technically good enough to be dangerous, but I'm certainly not a developer or a researcher. So I can't go too much deeper on that. But from my conversations with our team is the reason we were able to get such fantastic results with basically, kind of our first go at it was we approached it in a fundamentally different way than some of these other speech to text models have been built.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm very impressed by your skills. You're from the GTM team, but you're very technical. It shows that
I
you're
appreciate
from
that.
Twilio. I think Twilio has something to do with that, right? I think Twilio.
It's really on
Yeah,
just general curiosity, right? Like we get to work and spend our days in the most interesting space, and not just AI, but I think voice AI is truly the most interesting because building and training voice models is fundamentally different, and the listeners of this podcast understand that, but it's fundamentally different than building LLMs or building a chat based model. Like you have to ensure that you're putting only top quality content into your models, and there are so many things that make speech realistic that need to be captured and need to be accounted for. And when you're creating voices or creating voice clones or then synthesizing the text and text to speech, all of that needs to go into the equation. And so to do it well requires like specific audio expertise, right? Like our researchers are, yes, of course, they're AI ML researchers, but they're also audio experts. I mean, we have folks on the team that have spent 20 plus years as audio engineers, right? Like, traditional sound mixing, maybe not from a traditional, even like tech background. And that's really important to the development of these models and how we express ourselves. Voice is the way that humans have communicated for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. And so, we're getting to the point now where, and I know you at Chris believe this too, like voice is the way that we're going to interact with machines in the future. Voice is the way we're going to interact with AI. It's the most natural for us. We've been typing and writing because that's how machines could understand us, but we're rapidly approaching, if not at the point where that's going to shift back to voice.
yeah, absolutely. Jack, let's talk about conversational AI piece. I think you guys launched the platform last year, if
Yeah,
I'm
end
not.
of last year, like November, December, 2024.
Yeah. So can you describe what the platform does, and how is it different than all these other platforms out there? Like how should we think about like who are the next competitors, right? Would it be like Vapi, like Synthflow, Retail? Like there are many
Yeah,
providers.
I think we see all of the ones above that you've mentioned in deal cycles. What we do with conversational AI is it's an end-to-end platform for building agentic AI, building true AI agents, starting from the voice side, but also with chat functionality as well. And
Mm.
the reason we built this is we saw folks basically taking text to speech and using ElevenLabs voices to stitch together an agentic AI product, right? They'd have somebody for transcription, they'd have, you have an LLM for the brain, you have something for your turn taking, generally, maybe a Pipecast Daily or a Live Kit, and probably two of the most common. And then you'd have text to speech for your voice. What we saw is by trying to stitch all of that together with a variety of disparate vendors, you've got a bunch of server pings running everywhere, right? You're adding latency with every vendor that you add to the stack. And you also have to manage a relatively complicated audio flow. So what we've built is an end-to-end platform, and everything I mentioned there, minus the LLM, we're doing in-house. So it's our own speech to text. It's our own
Mm.
turn taking equation, right? So we spent months building the turn taking algorithm and are doing some pretty interesting things under the hood there to reduce latency, but also increase accuracy. Um, we, of course, it has our fantastic text to speech voices, but we've done some really neat things there too, like automatic language detection and switching, a native integrated RAG, deep tool calling, multi-agentic workflows or multi-agent workflows. So the point of it is you can come to ElevenLabs for the components, or if you're an enterprise and end business and you want to rapidly launch agentic AI, great. Come to us. We'll handle the entire basically audio piece. You can get the audio to us, via SIP trunking, WebRTC, or we have the native integration with Twilio. You can get numbers, go from there, and then you focus on, let's say, the tool calling and the workflow that you want to build out. You don't need to manage and shouldn't want to manage that entire audio pipeline because it can get really complicated.
Interesting. And so the vision is that it's gonna be only powered by your models, or it's like by default it's going to be powered by your models, and can developers change these pieces or not really?
No, I think the goal here is that it's going to be powered by our models, right? Like, again, we are and want to continue to be the leader in AI audio. And so we're going to bring you the best of AI audio, the most innovative models. And you'll, like with the conversational AI product, you may have access to certain parts of those of our research before they're actually released as standalone, like you can see with the actual speech to text model in there. So that's part of the benefit of working with us, and then it's all hosted in one place, so significantly cuts down on latency and makes that turn taking feel extremely real. If any of the listeners haven't tried it out, I would highly recommend it because it's almost uncanny how realistic and how quick uh, the conversational AI product is.
Very cool, Jack. So so this year, I guess, we can expect, just to reiterate, right, like the streaming version 3 TTS, streaming scribe,
Yep, you
uh,
can expect those, and you can also expect a music model coming from us
music model.
as well as
Well,
some other things that I probably can't talk about yet. But those are some
yeah,
of the model releases that will most definitely be coming this year.
the music model, you mean like music generation?
Yeah, music generation.
Okay, so that's entirely a different thing. Not for communications, at
Yeah,
least, right?
not for communications, but I think what's important to understand how this actually relates back to enterprise is that the work that goes on there does benefit you know our enterprise as well, right? So if we have a music generation model, well, I can imagine a world, and we're thinking of a world where you build a conversational AI agent with ElevenLabs, and the model can synthesize not just text, but also say, background music, right? So if you're calling into, I don't know, how about a spa or something? You've got the agent talking and you've got nice, spa music playing in the background, really setting the stage, and you don't have to integrate multiple audio pipelines together. It can all be done in one. So the research that takes place on maybe some of the more creator or consumer focused tools actually does relate back to what we're doing for the enterprise and allows us to, again, have a better, more comprehensive experience encompassing everything that involves AI audio, not just AI voice.
Sounds exciting. Well, Jack, thanks so much for coming today and sharing insights and also your plans with the audience. It was exciting to chat with you.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me, and thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Cool. Thank you, folks.